I'm talking to you. Do I have your attention now? Behold, the new face of fear.
Man, I genuinely wish you don't ever want to be like, especially in professional wrestling, you don't want to be the next version of somebody else. Like, I know it's cliched to be the next iteration of somebody else, and it's also cliched to say, oh, I don't want to be the next them. I want to be the first me. But man, WWE really had something with Bray Wyatt, either incarnation. They really had something with him so that he could have been the next Undertaker. I really wish that they never... I wish he didn't pass away, obviously, but I really wish that his own promotion understood what they had with him, his potential. My God. Like, look at the legacy that he had and the indelible mark that he left. Imagine if they took this guy seriously and they propped him up as like one of their top stars. Look at what they've been able to do with Roman Reigns by like getting rid of the handcuffs with him and stop trying to suppress his natural inclinations and making him a bad guy. Imagine if they went all the way with Bray Wyatt. But two things that I wanted to mention. First off, I could not help myself. I absolutely had to fantasy book something that an angle that came to mind when it came to Bray Wyatt. Now, again, I have long said if you were going to do Bray Wyatt versus The Undertaker, it had to be at a SummerSlam. If it couldn't be at a WrestleMania, because despite the fact that that's a huge platform, we know between Bray Wyatt and Undertaker, we know whose show that is. So it was kind of predictable who was going to win. So you would have to have that feud at SummerSlam. And the best thing for, even though, Taker was on a limited schedule, and he was obviously winding down in his appearances, it would be best served for a Bray Wyatt Undertaker fantasy. Don't hotshot it. And what I mean by that is if it's going to be a rivalry, first off, you don't want to have a one and done. You want to stretch it out and have Taker lose to Bray Wyatt. It would probably have to have been in 2014, at SummerSlam in 2014. Have it where they have a string of matches that are spread out, and it's driving the Undertaker nuts because Bray Wyatt is, of all the people that Undertaker has beaten, of all the rivalries, especially the long-standing rivalry that he had with Shawn Michaels, he was never able to beat Shawn Michaels until their matches with the streak on the line at WrestleMania. But Bray Wyatt is just that character, is just that figure that Taker can't beat. So it's best if those matches are stretched out over months, if not like a year and a half. So I would have it where, now mind you, you would have Bray Wyatt beat The Undertaker probably 1 year prior to Survivor Series 2015. So why that's important is you would have, again, you're building this rivalry out. It's not, okay, it's started and concluded within 3 months. No. It would stretch out so that each time, Taker could, have his matches at WrestleMania with somebody else, get his win, but then return to his feud with Bray Wyatt for another chapter, another wrinkle to the story. So it just keeps happening that Bray Wyatt is just racking up one victory after another, not just with the main roster, not just with, some heavy hitters amongst, your Randy Ortons and your John Cenas. Yes, I would have Bray Wyatt beat them clean, but Bray Wyatt seems to always get the upper hand on The Undertaker. Well, what would happen if by the time, this Bray Wyatt is genuinely growing into a monster, not just a character, not just him romancing the fans and the fans falling under his spell, not just his Wyatt family with followers in his cult, but just being able to always get the upper hand on Taker of all people. So you finally have it where not only is Wyatt just that guy that Taker can't beat, but he's defeating him at your SummerSlams. He's beating him within Hell in a Cell. It just so happens that finally Survivor Series 2015, not only is that the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker, but guys, imagine this. Bray Wyatt throws down the gauntlet. He's ready to put the Deadman himself to rest. He is going to up the ante this time. No more singles matches. Now, it's the Wyatt family challenging the Brothers of Destruction. Now, you might say that, well, the Wyatt family are 3 members and the Brothers of Destruction are just 1. So who comes in for the save to round out a pitch perfect 3-on-3 match? You will now have at Survivor Series 2015, The Undertaker's 25th year anniversary at stake. Bray Wyatt dead set on burying the dead man. Who comes to their rescue? The Wyatt family will now go up against the Brothers of Destruction and Sting. Dude, imagine that that in and of itself can be your main event. That will be epic. Are you kidding me? You will have raised the stakes to the point that not only does every angle of that make sense. Survivor Series, 25 years in the business. It's The Undertaker, the new Undertaker, and Bray Wyatt. He has his cult in the Wyatt family. You not only have the Brothers of Destruction, but Sting in the mix. Sting is now coming to the rescue of The Undertaker. You not only have a rivalry between Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker, but the only person who could convince Sting to side with The Undertaker is now the newer iteration of The Undertaker. Yes, I'm going to give myself credit for that one. But, that came to mind last week, and I was like, man, that just makes too good of sense. But, as much as Triple H during the watch party wanted to claim that, the problems with creative were Bray Wyatt, not creative itself, and how bankrupt they are and have been, especially under his divine guidance. I just thought that, man, that level of creativity that I just mentioned, that I just laid out, that would be bank. That would be business right there. And guess what? From there, all right, you could have it where Sting and Taker have like their own orbiting or satellite rivalry, while Kane and Undertaker are dealing with the Wyatt family. And, from the Survivor Series, and obviously, by that point, it would be okay. Again, you have to remember, it's not Bray Wyatt losing against Orton and title matches at Mania and losing clean against John Cena at the Showcase of the Immortals. No, you will have built Bray Wyatt to an actual main event monster where he can now, or at least his family, his name can suffer a loss. And obviously it wouldn't be him getting pinned, it would be Taker since it's Taker's night. But you can build up this monster to the point that, okay, now he doesn't lose anything if a member of the Wyatt family takes a seat takes a pinfall, takes a back seat. You know what I mean? It would just mean that much more. And from there, you could spin off to now having a rivalry between Sting and Taker. I mentioned this in my Remembering Bray Wyatt live stream, and I'll say it again because I think, hey, what can I say? I'm just filled with great ideas. Considering WWE's close affiliation with NBC, who owns Universal, who owns Universal Studios, who runs Halloween Horror Nights, I will repeat what I suggested several months ago. They absolutely should make a haunted house out of the Firefly Funhouse in memory of Windham Rotunda. I mean, come on. Universal already made that crappy movie out of Five Nights at Freddy's, and those are just life-size mechanical puppets. Like, come on. You cannot tell me that a Firefly Funhouse wouldn't make gangbuster business at a Halloween Horror Nights. And if you've been following along in this watch party of the Bray Wyatt documentary, you already know that he was a horror fan. I mean, things like this just write itself. Speaking of writing itself, one thing that came to mind about a month ago that I just wanted to share with you guys, this idea came to mind. Just look at that. Like I mentioned during the watch party that we always, I don't know, the best that we could approximate what the Fiend was kind of like an evil clown. And it just, I often speak about not just my love for horror movies, but icons. And again, Bray Wyatt was absolutely a horror icon. And he debuted in the same year that the sequel to the It movie came out, It Chapter 2. And look, pale skin, look at the sketch or the drawing around the eyes. Certainly freakish teeth, but I don't know. It's just something that I wanted to share that I thought was of interest to me, and I hope all of you. And keep something in mind. After all, about both of these, couldn't you also say that they both are
the eater of worlds and of children? And you are next.
And now our watch has ended. So, let me just close up with some trivia about things that I had learned in my research in preparation for this watch party. So, it was interesting hearing Bray's Firefly Funhouse host role described as the wolf in shepherd's clothing. That's something that I had not previously considered. I really liked that the initial theme song for The Fiend, it wasn't even music, but it was more, I don't think that they played it during the watch or during the documentary. It was much more discordant noise than anything else. It sounded like that effect that they used in The Ring, that ringing sound, than it was music for The Fiend. Now, they eventually remixed Bray Wyatt's theme into The Fiend's entrance music, which was also, I mean, it was pretty badass as well. The remix was performed by Code Orange. So, one thing that I like to do is give recommendations whenever I do these watch parties.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
Make it a blockbuster, right?
So I just like to recommend other media, whether it's something in the same genre or something in the same genre, theme, something in line with what it is that you've already seen based on the watch party. So I do ask that you watch my thoughts on Windham Rotunda's passing that I did in remembrance of Bray Wyatt. I asked that you watch that because it's my thoughts, not just on his passing, but me doing a breakdown of his career. I very much enjoyed it. I'll probably give that a watch tomorrow just because in remembrance of Bray, and I'll watch that at work just because I very much liked retracing his career, what I thought about it, his rivalries, his WrestleMania matches, just his resurgence once he came back with the Firefly Funhouse, as well as the Fiend. I go in depth with it. It's about an hour and a half. I wanted to dedicate these closing moments of the watch party going over just ideas that came to mind when I thought about Bray. I meditated over this man, his contribution, not just to wrestling, but as a true icon within horror. Like, it upset me when that person on Reddit, and you might be saying, well, it's Reddit, why would you pay it much mind? But it just shocked me how someone could be so dismissive of someone as creative as Bray Wyatt, like asking, yo, what does news about Bray Wyatt have to do with horror? Like, are you kidding me? It genuinely says something that you wouldn't normally associate with horror, the wrestling business, that you would have someone, and I keep using this phrase, you would have a nightmare character that absolutely fits the bill of a horror icon. And hey, shout out to who was it? They did the horror awards about a month ago. Someone took the time to make horror awards, and they gave a shout back in March or February, and they gave a shout out to Bray Wyatt. I thought that was awesome. They are a horror channel that typically deals with TV and movies, but the fact that they cared enough, that they were, considerate, insightful enough to give a shout out to Bray Wyatt once he passed. Oh yes, it was the Dead Meat Horror Awards of 2024. It was 4 weeks ago. Shout out to you guys for keeping Bray in mind, acknowledging his contributions. I very much greatly appreciated that. So just that acknowledgement, but it says something that somebody within a brand of entertainment that you wouldn't generally associate with horror, that being sports entertainment, that being professional wrestling, it says something that they were able to speak, carry themselves, have this ambiance like they were a horror character. And to me, that really meant something. I thought that was just like the Undertaker. It's weird to me that horror conventions don't have the Undertaker or Kane invited there. That's so bizarre to me. And let me think. I think that is about it. We will call it a wrap. God bless Bray Wyatt. God bless Windham Rotunda. My heart sincerely goes out to his family. I genuinely wish I could have met the man. It would have been something special to have been able to have shaken his hand. You know what I mean? He was absolutely on my list of people to do interviews with, someone to meet, someone to express my respect and admiration for his craft. And it truly... He was very, very Rowdy Piper in the ideas that would just flow through his head. And for someone like me, that's a true inspiration. On the one hand, we are not likely to see his like again. And sadly, I wish we could. I wish more people would see what it is that he brought to the table and work feverishly the way that he did to emulate that level of imagination, you know? But this was a good way of getting closure on his passing. And I hope all of you enjoyed my watch party. I hope you all enjoyed Bray Wyatt's legacy, the life that he lived, peeking behind the curtain to see what his family life was. The world is lesser for his absence. So, I've been Inkarnate of the Mind's Eye Theater. Mark your calendars and say your prayers. I offer a word of caution. Fear the worst, so long you recognize who's best.
If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.